So the time is now run out for the DOJ to give an answer on what they plan to do with the nationwide vacatur and block of the ATF pistol brace/SBR rule. And now the critical pistol brace case has been set for oral arguments by the Fifth Circuit. Now, before we jump into this video, I want to thank the sponsor of this video, which is Attorneys on Retainer. When it comes to protecting yourself after a self-defense incident, AOR is in a league of its own. AOR is a real law firm, so they will help you even in a self-defense incident that maybe other companies would not. And right now, AOR has done something amazing. They've updated their benefits, and their new perks include civil liability coverage up to $100,000, red flag law coverage up to $15,000, expungement coverage up to $5,000. So if you're interested and you want to sign up, I highly recommend you sign up this year to lock in your price. You can do that using my links down below. And also, if you use my code ARMEDSCHOLAR, you can get $50 off of your individual sign-up plan or $25 off of your family plan. Now, as I mentioned in the intro, we have some important news in the battle against the ATF and their current restrictions on all brace pistols as SBRs. Currently, there is a nationwide vacatur on the pistol brace rule and multiple preliminary injunctions which protect various toy organizations, their memberships, companies, and customers as well. However, now with the new administration in power in the recent Trump executive order to protect the Second Amendment, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals decided to hold the Mock versus Bondi case temporarily in abeyance. The Trump administration decided to notify the Fifth Circuit that they wanted even more time. They wanted to hold oral arguments in this case so they could decide how the new administration wanted to handle this pistol brace issue. The Fifth Circuit granted a 30-day abeyance, which automatically dissolved on Monday, April 14th. That means that the AG's office was supposed to provide an update on how they plan to proceed forward. However, we have not seen anything filed by the AG's office on the docket for the Fifth Circuit. However, recently, like I mentioned, the Fifth Circuit decided to take action. The Fifth Circuit has now set oral arguments to take place in this critical pistol brace case during the week of August 4th. That means that the Fifth Circuit has likely received some sort of indication from the AG's office that they plan to continue on with this case going forward. And if that is the case, that's not great news and potentially is bad news coming out of the Trump administration and into a task force. Maybe they decided to proceed forward in this case. Now, you may recall that the ATF recently suffered multiple losses in a variety of pistol brace cases. Not only have they had multiple preliminary injunctions granted against this rule, but recently Judge Okconors issued a final merits decision in the Mock lawsuit, which struck down the rule completely nationwide on the final merits. In his decision, Judge Okconors stated that at the conclusion of the majority's careful analysis, they held that the final rule is properly characterized as a legislative rule, and it's relatively straightforward that the final rule was not a logical outgrowth from the proposed rule. Therefore, the final rule must be set aside as unlawful or otherwise remanded for appropriate remediation. That decision was huge because it was a final merits decision that struck down the pistol brace rule entirely. Now, in response to that, in that new decision, the ATF decided to appeal to the Fifth Circuit. Currently, all the briefs have been submitted to the Fifth Circuit. The response from the administration was the prior administration, the Biden administration, who did not like the ruling of Judge Okconors. Of course, they wanted to protect the pistol brace rule, and so oral arguments were pending in this case. However, as we all know, a lot has changed with the new administration in power, and they notified the Fifth Circuit that they wanted to hold oral arguments in this case. They wanted to hold this case in abeyance so they could decide how they wanted to handle the pistol brace issue. The notice from the AG's office to the Fifth Circuit stated that following a change in administration on February 7, 2025, President Trump issued an executive order titled Protecting Second Amendment Rights. Among other things, the order directs the Attorney General to examine various actions of executive departments and agencies to assess any ongoing infringements on the Second Amendment rights of our citizens and present a proposed plan of action to the President through the Domestic Policy Advisory to protect the Second Amendment rights of all Americans. And the order specifically directs the Attorney General as part of that process to review all rules promulgated by the Department of Justice, the ATF, from January 2021 through January 2025 pertaining to firearms and or FFLs. In light of the developments, the government respectfully moves to hold this case in abeyance for 60 days pending review of the challenged rule. An abeyance will conserve party and judicial resources and promote the efficient and orderly disposition of this appeal, including by ensuring that litigation is focused on enduring agency action and informed by the views of the current agency leadership. Through that notice, the Trump administration identified that they could change its position on the whole pistol brace issue and the position taken by the prior administration in this specific lawsuit. Well, the Fifth Circuit responded by granting the request to hold the case in abeyance, but now the time has run out. We have not seen any notice on the docket from the AG's office identifying what their plans are for this specific case. Instead, the Fifth Circuit has taken action on its own and set oral arguments for this case to take place during the week of August 4th. That could mean that the Fifth Circuit has some indication from the administration that the administration still plans to proceed forward in this case and potentially defend the pistol brace rule. Recently, we've received multiple statements from the AG's office through the Chief of Staff that they will be changing positions in cases like the Peterson suppressor challenge, which is in the Fifth Circuit, and they said that they're going to change course in other cases as well. Her office has even now stated that they're going to be investigating localities in California for their delays in issuing CCW permits, and those are all good signs, but of course, it's not a guarantee that they're going to proceed forward in this case in the way that we want, essentially saying that yes, the pistol brace rule is invalid. Regardless, it seems like the Fifth Circuit believes this case is going to head towards oral arguments, and so they set that date tentatively for August 4th, or that week of August 4th. It's also interesting to note that there is no update or notice on the docket from the Fifth Circuit outlining a new briefing schedule. You would expect that if the administration told the Fifth Circuit that they plan to modify their briefs, there would be some sort of update for a new briefing schedule, but we don't see any of that as of right now. We also know that right now there is a major push to get the SHORT Act added into the budget reconciliation effort that's currently in the Senate. And we just saw the Hearing Protection Act pass in the House, and it's heading towards the Senate as well. Of course, if the SHORT Act passed and was signed into law by Trump, the entire pistol brace issue is kind of irrelevant since SBRs would no longer be considered NFA regulated items. So if you really want to bypass this whole pistol brace issue, I highly recommend that you call your senators and tell them that you support not only the Hearing Protection Act, but also the SHORT Act. And you can contact your senators by calling the U.S. Capitol Switchboard, which is 202-224-3121. And then you just ask for your specific senators and leave them a message saying that you support not only the HPA, but also the SHORT Act. One important thing to note with all of this is that currently the Fifth Circuit abeyance does not impact the nationwide vacatur decision that was issued by Judge O'Connor, and that nationwide vacatur of the pistol brace rule will remain in place until the Fifth Circuit rules in this case or the Trump administration takes some sort of action on this rule. It could be that the oral arguments set for August 4th are irrelevant, and maybe the Trump administration is going to take some sort of other action on the whole pistol brace issue. We've seen recently that they settled the FRT rule and the whole controversy there. I have mixed feelings about that settlement there, but maybe what's happening here is the Trump administration and the ATF are going to reach some sort of compromise also on this and not litigate it further in the Fifth Circuit. Regardless of what the administration decides to do, we're still in a good spot in the Fifth Circuit, and maybe it's better for the Fifth Circuit to hear and rule on the pistol brace issue so that we get some sort of binding precedent in this Fifth Circuit on this issue, and that would help us down the road when administrations do turn over. And that would be also very important, especially if we don't get something like the SHORT Act passed. So that's what's currently happening in the critical case, which is currently blocking the pistol brace rule nationwide. As we get more information, as this develops further and we get more information from the administration, I will let you guys know. But as always, thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And never forget, this nation was built by ARM scholars, and this nation will be maintained by ARM scholars.